They're coming to get you. They're coming for you, Barbara.
They're coming to get you.
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh, welcome to They're Coming to Get You, the podcast where we talk about your favorite movies. And if we haven't yet, just sit tight because we might. Gavin, welcome to the show.
Yeah, first time, long time listener, first time caller.
It's good to have you on finally.
I know. But of course, we got Mr. Brent Cheerhune. I'm Gavin Eddings. This is They're Coming to Get You. And Brent, I got to ask you something. What's your favorite scary movie?
This one, I think.
What is this one? Is that a sequel to They Live?
I think we're watching this week a scary movie.
Yeah, actually. Well, that was the original title, but they changed it.
They didn't really care for it. No, this week we're watching the iconic movie that changed the horror genre forever, Scream.
Scream to me is top 3 most important horror movies of all time.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I said it. I'm making big declarative statements here tonight.
If we're doing top 3 of all time, so where does it fall in the 3?
Probably 3. No. I think for me, the 3 would probably be Halloween, The Exorcist, Scream. I think those are a nice trilogy right there.
Would you include Blair Witch in the top 10?
As far as influential?
Yeah.
I would. I think that would probably fall maybe 9 or 10, but it definitely influenced and started a whole bunch of it started a subgenre basically.
This sounds like a future episode, just a whole most important horror movies in the genre.
Absolutely. And I think Scream is one of them. Scream is a movie that I hold very dear to my heart. I have great memories of watching this movie. Me and my dad watched the first one together when it was on video. And we did something that we never do. We watched the first one and he goes, Gavin, let's go rent the second one now. Because they were out. So we went back to the video store and we got the second one. And then we watched the second one together. And it was just a really great memory I have with my dad. He's still alive. Like he's still, it's not, but no, I love my dad. And that is one of my best memories with him saying, well, we got to rent the second one now. And then going back to the video store and getting it back when video stores were a place that you could go and feel joy.
Now, was Randy there handing out recommendations?
Yeah, he said, there are certain rules to survive a horror movie.
The Howling, it's over there in the horror section, the horror.
And he said, we also got some milk duds. Do you need those? Be like, stop trying to upsell me, Randy. Okay, we've already been here twice tonight.
I do. I have a similar memory watching these with my mom. The first one, and then I remember the second one. He plays heavily in it, Cotton Weary, which you only get a little bit of it in the first one, but I remember watching that one for sure. So I don't even know how old you are.
I am 35.
I'm 33, so we're about the same age.
Yes.
And I didn't get to see this in the theater, but I remember this being like a tentpole movie in my life and horror in general.
I think I probably didn't. I remember being in 5th grade and asking my parents, like, can we rent Scream? And they're like, absolutely not. No way.
No, sir.
I actually didn't sit down and watch it until probably 2003.
Yeah.
After they had all 3 of them had been out on video for a while. At the time it was a trilogy and not a 5-ology as it is now. But and I just remember falling in love with it and it being everything everybody said it was. I kind of knew the beats and the tropes before watching it because Scary Movie was such a well-known parody, and just seeing the commercials for it and knowing the tagline of what's your favorite scary movie and the idea of Ghostface. So I knew about it and what it was doing, but I watched all 3 completely unspoiled back when you could do that. I was surprised every time a killer was revealed. And there's just something that is so fun and so rewatchable about the Scream movies.
I've watched this a bunch, and over the pandemic, watched it. I think the whole series twice through,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that was 1 through 4, with Scream 5 just coming out within the last year, right?
Yes. Scream 5 came out in January. During the pandemic, because there were no new movies coming out, our local drive-in down here in Southern Indiana would show a lot of old horror movies, just things to put on the screen so that people could go out and have a good date night. So we may have talked about it before. It was during the pandemic summer. They actually showed Scream on the big screen at the drive-in,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a perfect experience because you go to the drive-in to watch new movies. And I'm the person, I don't want to see a new movie at the drive-in because I need to be in the theater and enjoy the surround sound. But an old movie, take me to the drive-in all day because you're familiar enough with it that you can just sit back, enjoy. You don't need the best audio. You don't need the
Who's
best
that?
visual.
Who's that? You don't you don't want to be asking who's that every 5 seconds,
And you're like, I cannot make this screen any brighter. Okay. We are actually, we are outside in the dark and there are people getting high next to us. Okay. I can't do anything about it.
And for some reason the car in front of us, lights come on every 10 minutes, and they've backed into the spot, so the lights are shining directly in our eyes. I'm not mad about it.
Listen, if you don't back in your Dodge Ram, then you ain't owning a truck.
It's tactical.
And listen, if anything goes down at this drive-in, I will be out faster than any motherfucker here.
An odd time for being released in the year. It was December 18th, 1996. Like, it's just an odd.
Is this a Christmas movie? No.
Yeah, I think it is. The budget was like somewhere between 14 and 15 million dollars. It ended up making 173 million dollars.
Incredible.
Scream 2 was released with less than a year. Like they were on it.
They're like, we got to strike while this iron is not only hot but actually searing.
Yeah, the hottest thing, and of course written by Kevin Williamson and directed by Wes Carpenter.
Wes, you're like a Wes Carpenter flick, Brent.
I do love if you're not paying attention, you miss some of those things. Directed by Wes Craven, and I in my research, we can talk about it more in depth later in the episode, but I guess Kevin Williamson was like, I wrote 1 and then 1, 2, and 3. Get a franchise going from the jump.
Yeah, and to have a writer be consistently with a franchise is hard to find because
Writer and director.
Yeah, Victor Miller did not write every Friday the 13th movie. He did not. He wrote the first one and then said bye and then sued forever.
And then he wrote his lawyer.
And then he wrote his lawyer and said, I'd like some of that Jason money, please.
I can't blame him.
I know. Jason makes that money. But to have that together, and it was only until Scream 5, also called Scream, that Kevin Williamson did not actually write. I believe he did write 4, but he did not write 5.
Yeah, I like he was busy working on other things too, because I listened to an interview with him. I think they had him consulting on 5, but he was like, I didn't write it. I think it was written by the co-directors, right?
Yeah, and you actually sent me a link to that podcast with him on there. It was just very interesting hearing what he has to say. He's like, I am almost in my 50s now. I can't write teens anymore. If I tried to write teens, it'd be the saddest thing ever. So it's nice that he recognized that, because there is nothing more cringy or off-putting than adults writing what teen girls or teen boys sound like.
Totally.
No,
I don't hate the Halloween writing, but yeah, when it's clearly it might as well be the meme of Steve Buscemi being like, hello fellow kids.
Yeah, absolutely. But Scream for me is so much fun. Put it on in the background. I am never not in the mood to watch Scream.
Yeah,
it's just it's so fun. And do you have do you want to kind of break down the movie, or how do you want to start this?
We should start from the opening, because you and I both talked about it on my other project, the field trip. We talked about the best openings. Yes. And it's like, what a treat to get to watch this opening every single time you watch the movie. And I clocked it for 13 minutes. It's just nonstop.
It is one of the best openings of all time. It is, even if you've seen it 1,000 times, you know how it's going to go. it is so gripping. And it does so much with so little. Kevin Williamson actually wrote the opening scene and was like, oh man, this is good. And then just like locked himself in his house and just wrote the rest of the movie in a weekend. Like he knew he had to get it out of him while it was still so hot. But that opening 13 minutes, you've got Drew Barrymore as Casey just getting a phone call from a wrong number. And the conversation gets a little flirty, then it gets very violent, and this is all happening over the phone. Like there's no killer in the house yet. He is psychologically torturing her. And Ghostface on the phone, Roger Jackson, an incredible voice actor who does so much and is one of the most important characters in the entire series, just as the voice of Ghostface.
And they were supposed to, they were like going to get a new, voice. He was just kind of the stand-in, and then they heard, his voice. How could you not have that dude play your character? And I guess they had him do those lines over the phone, like while they were filming it. So it's like he never met the cast until after filming it, but he's calling them over the phone. And just that voice, the way he can be like, hey, how are you, to I'll gut you like cattle. Like it's what a change, Yeah,
it is so menacing. And he kind of slides into it where he's like, hey, are you making popcorn?
Yeah,
I like popcorn. It's like, oh, okay. And then just hang it. And then she's like, okay, bye. And he's like, sorry, I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
And just the build to it. And also the scene builds and builds until he kills Casey's boyfriend. And that's a whole thing. And I swear I've seen versions where it's more violent. It's that Mandela effect you're talking about. I've seen versions where like it's brighter and you see more gore. I don't know if it's like DVD or VHS or just how recoloring works. But in my mind, it's always more vicious than when I watch it.
Well, and it, directed by Wes Craven. We discussed, I don't think it was last week, right? Where we were like watching A Nightmare on Elm Street or two ago, where it was we're like, oh, this is the bloodiest movie we've covered.
Yeah, with the girl with Tina on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then Wes Craven does not skip on the gore.
No,
he does not at all. He loves the red stuff. And this movie, it has plenty of it. The
it's less than A Nightmare on Elm Street, I would say, right?
Oh yeah, nobody gets eaten by their bed in this one, and then geysers everywhere like we're on Double Dare. So,
yeah, I'm gonna.
We're gonna cover that at some point, okay? We're gonna cover that at some point.
I'm gonna skate over it.
Oh, skeet. God, I got that.
Yeah, it's bloody, like, but I mean, it is like with that shot of what's her face running through the yard, Drew Barrymore, and she just catches the knife in with the chest, whatever. Like, I don't know. Where it's like, that's bone. That's not like flesh. That's just, let me crack the ribs first,
And they did it where, and this is an old wrestling trick, where if you're gonna bleed, wear white, where it's gonna show more. So she's wearing that white sweater. She gets stabbed. You see all the blood on her. Also, they killed Drew Barrymore in the first 13 minutes of this movie.
Yep.
She's all over the marketing. They put her in there. And then that is something that they talked about as well. Like, we're going to kill the most famous person in this movie to let you know that nobody is safe.
She's at the front, like, and how influential Scream was is like, look at all the other posters that came after Scream. They're all in a V shape, like they're geese flying. And like Scream was the first one. Drew Barrymore's in the front of the people. And also, I'm looking at this poster. I don't know if you had it pulled up, Gavin, but Skeet Ulrich has like facial hair on the poster.
Yeah, so that is a poster that I actually have hanging in our living room, signed by the cast.
Okay.
And we have it signed by Skeet Ulrich. We have it signed by Matthew Lillard, Nev Campbell, David Arquette, and Jamie Kennedy. And I'll talk about meeting them later. But yeah, it is very weird because that is not how he looks in the movie. Not once.
No. And like, look at Halloween H2O, look at The Faculty, Those two come to mind with that the V shape of let's put everybody in line on the poster.
Have you seen that meme that said, "Do you like your Dimension movies? Scream in high school, Scream in Halloween." Where
yeah,
after Scream, every movie became Scream, but in a different universe.
yeah,
Where Halloween H2O, I love. I'm not sure how you feel about it.
I like it. Yeah,
I like it a lot, but it is Scream with Michael Myers.
yeah, and it's well, didn't Kevin Williamson write that too? By the way,
I believe so. I think he did. Yes.
Either way, like it's that copycat thing of you have one of the biggest franchises of all time is like now we got to be a little bit Scream, you know?
Yeah. And the opening scene, getting that scare, killing off one of your main characters, that's become a trope in horror movies. And the whodunit is a real, this is a really good whodunit. We had the other whodunit with Friday the 13th. And I love that franchise, but in that episode I said the first movie to me is not super good. I think the franchise hits its high points in the sequels once Jason shows up. But I just never liked the idea of Friday the 13th being a whodunit when the who did it doesn't show up until the third act.
Or what, was never a character to begin with.
Yeah, it's not a good guessing game when this person, like, I bet this character that just showed up and we have not met until this point might be doing this.
And I don't know if it was maybe not new in the genre, but there's two whodunits, Gavin.
I know there's two who did it.
You know what I'm trying to say.
You know what?
Two killers.
Yes, and that was, even watching it for the first time, I didn't know there was going to be two killers, so I was shocked. And this movie I still say a lot of people like to equate Scream to being the first meta movie, and I definitely think that it leans into it very heavily, but the most up to this point. I do think that Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, was probably the first kind of meta horror movie, because that movie for me it's very funny and it's very self-referential with I've seen enough horror movies to know that any guy got a hockey mask is up to no good and just like breaking the guy's balls for pulling out the gun. She's like, "What are you, Dirty Harry?" So I think that was the first maybe foray into meta, but Scream takes it to the next level where people could not ignore it.
Yeah, well, and Scream was, like referencing the horror genre, and the killer is a fan of the genre. Like from the jump, he's like, "I was watching The Exorcist and it got me thinking about you." Like that's not a compliment, first off. Like,
the Scream universe is our universe where these movies exist. Halloween exists, Friday the 13th exists. The scene with Casey with the what's your favorite scary movie? Yeah, he's like, "I like Nightmare on Elm Street." Is that the one with the guy who has knives for fingers? Yeah, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, the first one was good, but the rest sucked.
Because Wes Craven didn't do all of them.
Well, even Wes Craven is dressed up as Freddy Krueger.
Yes, sorry, Fred.
Sorry, Fred.
But being able to like reference these movies, and this was the first time that the rules were really brought out into the open of never have sex, never drink, nothing. Don't do that. So this was where all those rules of horror movies came from.
Yeah, the rules that you can never have sex, you can never drink or do drugs, and never say, "I'll be right back."
Hey, Brent, I'll be right back.
No, oh man, I really liked you.
I don't want to keep saying, I love this movie so much. It makes me so happy. It brings me so much joy. And the cast is just expertly crafted. David Arquette, amazing. Neve Campbell as Sydney Prescott, one of the best final girls ever to do it.
Well, and let's wrap up the beginning at least. Like it's like watching back a few days ago, like she's called a couple times and now she's going to go lock all the doors. But that is mind blowing to me, Gavin. Like somebody would just have a house and be inside and the doors are not locked.
Yeah,
that is crazy to me.
I don't know how anybody does that. Stephanie will leave our doors unlocked sometime, and I'm like,
"You want me to cut this part out?" Now people.
Listen, I won't say my address. It's actually da.
Yeah.
Our doors are open. I have a PlayStation 5. I'm not home between these hours.
Yeah.
But
Here's a list of my fears.
But she'll do that sometimes. Or one time I came home and she's like left the door not only unlocked but open to her. And I was like, why? She's like, well, nobody's gonna break in. I go, what? No, we can't do. I regularly will be laying in bed and say, I know everything is locked, but I'm gonna go check just in case.
You and producer wife would get along. I don't know well, but you have similar check the door tendencies. You know,
we have similar crippling paranoia.
Yeah, and that's it. Like people always be like, back in my day, we didn't even lock the doors. Why? Why not? You had the lock on the door. Like,
weren't there a lot of murders back then?
Yeah, like and the thing is, I'm not scared, but I'm also, let's just lock the door. You're right there. Just close the door and it's locked. Like,
yeah,
it's just I don't know how you can, and especially this teenage girl who is alone, making popcorn and her parents have gone. She lives in the middle of nowhere. It just lock the doors.
There. She is out there living the riskiest life.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that it made me think too of like when she's making that popcorn, it was like to me reminiscent of Hitchcock, where there's that Hitchcock thing. He's like, you know, I'll show you the bomb under the table, and then I'll keep going back to it to grow the suspense. And in my head, that was the popcorn in that scene. Because after you watch it the first time, you're like, oh, this is about to be a fire. Like this is like we're watching it, like checking back, and that the popcorn's getting bigger and bigger, and eventually it just causes a fire. It's not like a big plot point, but I'm like, this everything's about to be on fire, and the parents coming home to a house that's on fire.
So like, I disagree about it not being a big plot point, because that house had to smell like shit after that was done, because their daughter is dead. They go into the house to weep, and now the house smells like burnt popcorn.
Yeah,
this killer has done way too much evil this night.
Yeah, our daughter smells like blood and popcorn in here.
And that's not gonna air out for anything. And he put a fish in the trash weeks ago.
He put it in the air ducts. And what a shocking ending to that beginning scene of like she's just hanging there, like
with the phone cord and just her guts are hanging out. Like that is if you take a screenshot from horror movies, that's on the Mount Rushmore.
And it just kind of zooms in and then goes to the next scene. Like you almost have to, like, before you could have it on home video, it's like, I think I saw all of it. Like now it's like you pause it and look at that, you know,
and you yell enhance at your TV.
Enhance. Yeah.
So that you can zoom in and see everything.
Ophelia, enhance. That's the virtual assistant from the movie Us, Gavin.
I'm like, is that from Spy Kids? Is that?
No, it's from Us.
Nice.
Instead of setting off everybody's ALEXAs.
Oh yeah, because I'm like, oh no, we want you to listen to your podcast everywhere, and if we say her name, it might stop.
Like we don't want to say Siri. Yeah, just that opening scene. That could just be a short film.
It is a short film.
I mean, it is, but
yeah. It has a beginning, middle, and end. And if that was a short film, it would win a ton at festivals because you build so much dread and suspense in 13 minutes that a lot of movies cannot do in their 90-minute runtime.
Yeah. Then you cut to what is the scene after that of like them at that fountain, right?
Yeah, you cut to them in school, and they're always kind of hanging out. We get to meet our main character. Like, I heard she was gutted like a fish. What you do is you cut them from groin to. I think is the next scene. No, I think the next scene is Skeet coming in the window.
Oh yeah.
The
nighttime where Nev Campbell's wearing, and she's a teenager. She should be wearing the most flattering nightgown attire, but I'm like, Dad, you're just dressed like everybody's grandma.
You are dressed like Scrooge McDuck in A Christmas Carol right now.
All you need is a hat and a little candle to walk around.
It's like, sorry, I can't come out right now. And she blows out the candle. She's like, time to take a slumber.
You Skeet, what day is it? Why, it's Halloween, Mr. Scrooge.
It hasn't happened yet. Yay. God, we're dumb.
Your mother, Maureen Prescott, was raped and killed.
Oh no! On this day 1 year ago, it was that scoundrel Tiny Cotton Weary.
God bless us, everyone.
So yeah, he's trying to sneak in the window, and he does his exorcist monologue. Like, I saw it on TV, so all the good parts were cut out.
Cut out, yeah.
And he's like, we were a PG-13 on our way to a hard R. And then your mother died, and we stopped fooling around.
Yeah.
Like I get that teenagers are horny, but I think that's an okay excuse if your mother is murdered. Like, you cannot want to have sex.
It's been a year. It's been a year, Gavin. Throw me something.
Look at it. Just look at it.
Yeah. Her mother's dead. Give her a break, or yeah. I just do you even see that relationship happening of Nev Campbell and Skeet? Like, he seems like a guy that just pulls up, never not wearing a white undershirt, I think. Like, he just seems like he pulls up in a Trans Am everywhere he goes, or a motorcycle. Like, I do buy the relationship, but it also seems odd to me that she's with this pseudo bad boy, you know?
Yeah, because she is very goody, as shown by her sleeping attire.
Yeah.
But she doesn't seem like the kind of girl who would just have a guy slinking in the window.
Yeah, this is the first time that's happened.
Yeah. And just, oof. Yeah, that whole exorcist monologue, and then being like, would you settle for some PG-13? And then she shows him some titties that we do not see.
Yeah.
That we don't see. And but in my mind, I was like, I don't know if PG-13 movies can show boobs a lot. I only think of like a very few handfuls. A couple handfuls, am I right?
It was rated R, but Steven Spielberg's, he swooped in and convinced them to rate it PG-13
for this scene. But I'm like, I guess if you're referencing Titanic that hadn't come out yet, where it's like, this is a tasteful nude, this is not sexual, it's art. But like, what about a PG-13? Like, quick flash? Like, okay, like that's, I mean, that is something. So Billy Loomis got a little something.
Yeah, what does he call it? Like over the pants relationship or something? I don't remember what he called it, but yeah, you're over the pants rule.
yeah. That's when this is Billy Loomis. Had he not been killed in this, would he have eventually evolved into get back to the sack guy from
yeah, for sure. Are you coming back to the sack or what? I think Wes Craven loves that character, as do I.
Did you know that actually Billy Loomis's dad is the dad from Nightmare on Elm Street?
What?
Yeah, that is true. No, I fucking made that up. Low stakes lying.
And I do want to point out the Don't Fear the Reaper rendition in the background of that makeout scene. Did you pick up on that?
Yes.
It's a very moody, and you know what other movie we talked about that featured Don't Fear the Reaper?
Oh, I don't.
Halloween.
Halloween. Yes. Okay.
There's multiple references. Billy Loomis, and the parents say run down to the Mackenzies. That's what Jamie Lee Curtis says. And Halloween. So we're getting a bunch of, it's already meta, but it's meta. You know, if you don't know, now you know.
It's very meta in like we're telling you what it is, and then we're also winking and nudging at the same time.
Yeah. And Billy Loomis is a reference to Dr. Loomis, who is a reference to Psycho.
Yeah, so it turtles all the way down, man.
Layers. Right now, next to me, I have a bunch of pieces of yarn connecting paper. And
I was just thinking of like a very nice 7-layer dip that I would like to be eating right now. That's where our minds are. But so you have that, and then the next day is like the scene at the fountain where they're just casually talking about the brutal murder of one of their friends.
Yeah, and it's in that thing. It's said that what Matthew Lillard used to date Casey.
Yeah, Stu Macher used to date, And he's like, I think it make you the suspect. He's like, no, I don't think so. I don't.
Yeah.
And even watching it back so many times after seeing it for the first time, they hint a little bit, but it's never blatantly obvious. Like even in rewatches, nobody does anything like super sketchy.
Yeah.
Which is nice for rewatching, where if you sometimes the mystery's gone, or if you can like guess who it is, it's fun to guess who it is, but you don't want it to be so obvious where it's not fun or a game.
Yeah, I tend to watch movies that I've never seen. I don't try to guess. I want to be along for the ride. Now, producer wife, on the other hand, she'll be 10 minutes and she'll be like, it was that guy right there. And then the end comes and guess what? It's that guy. She's very good at guessing who done it.
Oh, that's what we watched last night at Soho recently, which I really enjoyed. But Stephanie was like, I bet this is gonna happen, and then I think this also happened. I was like, you're just guessing everything correctly. This is everything. Are you on IMDb right now? What? How are you?
Yeah, producer wife did the same thing too last night in Soho.
And then we're there like, well, this would have been a real shocker if somebody had Poindexter over here hadn't guessed everything.
Old loudmouth over here.
Good old Sherlock loudmouth.
And that fountain scene too. I went back and looked because the killer's wearing black boots. So it shows prominently later in the movie, the sheriff, he's wearing black boots.
Oh,
where it's like he's talking to Dewey, and Dewey's got the ice cream cone and he's smoking. It cuts down to the black boots, but in the fountain scene, you can also see Stu and Matthew Lillard wearing black boots, or you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what's happening. I've seen it.
You can look, because I did the Google image search to see if they were wearing the black boots, and they are.
Oh, that is a fun little tidbit there. But just the casual conversation, and they feel like real teenagers. They feel like they're really having a conversation. The Totally podcast.
Yeah.
They
Jamie Kennedy going into all these characters that some of them I still don't even know.
I know. I ate her liver with a fine Chianti.
Yeah, I know that, but there's like another one. I'm still like, I think that's an old timey gangster, but I still haven't even figured that out. You know,
Randy is a great character. Randy is us. He is all of us.
Randy would have a podcast.
Oh,
if he hadn't been killed in part 2.
Like, oh yeah, he'd be a podcaster. He'd probably be talking about ivermectin 100%. But yeah, Randy is a great character who is us and points out things for us, but it never feels preachy or forced. It's very casual because the dialogue in Scream is so good. Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost almost a 2-hour movie, but it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, it does not. It moves at a very brisk pace because there's always something happening. Either you're suspecting somebody's getting killed. It is just so good. Like
the opening is 13 minutes, and the end, I kind of clocked it watching it. This like the last third of the movie is 40 minutes. That's a big chunk, but it doesn't feel. It moves quick.
Absolutely, and some of the kills in this movie are very creative. It's a lot of
unremarkable.
What are some that are unremarkable for you?
When Fonzie got it in the principal's office,
he just got stabbed a few times.
I don't even call him Principal whatever, and I don't call him Henry Winkler. That's Fonzie to me, Dan.
That is Principal Fonz. He jumped the shark into academics.
That was, I think it's not a secret. They added that kill in because I think at that point in the movie, it went a half hour without a kill. So like, let's go off the principal. And then that gave them a way to get everybody away from the party when they're like, yeah, he's hanging from the goalpost or whatever,
Which is crazy. Who did that?
Yeah.
Was it Stu and Billy who did that?
And who also was like, let's go look at it. Like, that's crazier to me than actually hanging the guy from the goalpost,
I know that high schoolers love 3 things. They love booze, they love boobs, and they like watching their principal dead hanging from a goalpost.
That's right. Well, and they make a case where like, is this dude the killer when he's like has those scissors with the 2 guys that are running around with the masks? Like, yeah, you're like, they kind of make a case of like, is Henry Winkler the killer?
This would be a much different franchise if your killer who goes on to sequels is Henry Winkler.
What's your favorite Happy Days episode?
I like the ones with Chotsky. I think I like those. I like the one that was set in the 50s. I liked how the days were so happy.
Who's your favorite character from Happy Gilmore? It was the coach. That was
Shooter McGavin, I think.
I think that kill is he just gets stabbed. It's nothing great, it's just
it's nothing.
Stabbing. But what did you think some of the good kills were?
I think for me, the one with Tatum in the garage with the garage door. Also, just the coldest night must have been the coldest night to just.
I stared at those boobs for 7 years. I tried to keep them locked away. No, for some reason, like that's just a meme of her hard nips poking through the shirt.
And nobody said anything on the day of. Like, those must have been the best takes. Be like, well, I mean, we have some with her titties not rock hard and cutting glass. We have some, but the fire's just not there.
It's just like that. She's just framed in that shot, and your eyes are like, that's there. It's just nips, and then she tries to get through the doggy door, and what a strong garage door that is. She's not fat by any means, but she's like 100 pounds, probably like over 100 pounds.
That must have been, that garage door opener had to be recalled because it did not stop for anything.
No,
it's like it's going up one way or the other.
And I read that she kept falling through because like that's how if she locked her keys out of her house, that's how she would get in her real house, is go through the doggy door. So they had like nail her shirt to the garage door so she wouldn't keep falling out of the garage door.
And not only are her nipples the hardest nipples ever been filmed on screen, but then they just put her boobs through the door. So there's no waist, there's no leg. It is just her boobs on display in this door.
Well, that's why she couldn't get back out through the door, because those things are like a barb on a fish hook. You can get them through there, but you can't get it back out. That's how nature intended. Yeah.
If you're a well-endowed woman, do not go through a garage door. You will get stuck.
Yeah, is that your favorite kill?
I think so. There aren't a lot of creative kills in this first one. It's a lot of stabbings, a lot of slashings.
Yeah.
I think the kill, Gale Weathers is a great character.
Mm-hmm.
Not to get too Gale Weathers, Courtney Cox, where she met her future husband and then former husband David Arquette.
Future and former husband.
Just knock it all out in one introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Gale Weathers with the Maureen Prescott murder investigation, thinking cotton weary. So you have this media surrounding it as well. So there's reason for like these kids to be such a spotlight, and this story being so much more national and covered because it is on the anniversary of Sydney's mom's murder. I think the most brutal kill probably is the cameraman who gets killed because he gets his throat slashed, he bleeds out, and then they throw him on the roof of the news van and just bleed him out there too.
Well, you know what? When she tells you to move, she means move your fat tub of lard ass.
She is I worked in news briefly for 6 weeks after college, and it was, I didn't meet any true Gale Weathers, but I met some who with a few years could 100% be a Gale Weathers.
Well, and now I think in the part 5, she's got like some kind of news show, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that she would also just have a true crime podcast.
Oh yeah. And I don't want to be mean, but in Scream 5, Courtney Cox's face is morphing into the ghost face.
That's mean.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I don't want to judge anybody on their looks, but sometimes it is out there. It is. So watching Scream 1, it's nice watching a simpler Friends era Courtney Cox, whose face has not been completely stretched on her skull.
Can't be worse than the bangs, and I don't remember what
part 3.
Part 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I'm judging, but I'm going to go ahead and say something shitty after I said no. You got the scares. What I love in this movie is like there's a lot of chase scenes where Ghostface is really just stumbling and bumbling through the whole thing.
He's a real guy. You can hit him. You can fight him.
He runs. You know,
he runs. Even when those kids are being assholes, and you see the boots come down in the bathroom stall.
Mm-hmm.
And first off, just to go to school the next day after a murder and be like, it'll be a great prank. What'll be the best thing? Let's prank this victim of a violent crime by tormenting her. Like, I know high schoolers are terrible, but even that feels like, God, Jesus. Okay, I guess this is what kind of high school we're going to. And
to like also just have to change into a costume. Like the shoes are one thing where you can wear that with any outfit, but it's like, man, you got to just carry this glittery black robe and a mask and a knife everywhere.
You have to wait in the bathroom until Sidney Prescott has to use it.
Yeah, let's say she doesn't go to the bathroom.
Then that's a whole day wasted. You're like, I stood on this toilet the whole day. Waiting to get my scares off, and then she never had to poop.
But it's also one of those scares where it's like it's daytime. This is essentially a public place, and she almost got.
She almost got by people that ain't even Ghostface.
Yeah,
she almost got by just two random high schoolers.
The other, I think I love it, but is a little outlandish to me is when they're on the porch, her and Tatum, and she's like, this is not some Wes Carpenter flick, and then it just cuts to Ghostface in the bushes during the day. Like, I like it, but I'm also like, he's just in the bushes over there during the nobody else is seeing him. Like,
and that's one of the problems I had with Scream 5, because there's a kill that takes place in broadest daylight on a front lawn where people are screaming. People are yelling, and it's nobody. Like, why is nobody doing anything? Why is nobody helping?
But I think you'd be surprised at how nobody does anything really. Like, just watching or nothing. Nobody's there. It's a neighborhood, but we're all in our own worlds.
And honestly, I say that as like a snobby, snarky film watcher. Like, this is clearly nobody's coming. How big is this town? If they say it's so small, but the police aren't there yet. But if I saw somebody getting stabbed on a lawn, I'd no, absolutely not. No, I lived in a neighborhood one time where on Valentine's Day I had a girl over and we heard screaming. It was not a great neighborhood, and we heard screaming, and there was a guy just like fighting a woman on his front porch. And I was like, nope, this is not my business. It's not my problem. I did call the police, but I was like, nope, not getting involved with this because I still have to live here.
And then you're like, this relationship's been nothing but PG-13, baby.
And I'd like it to go hard R. I want that. I want it to be X-rated before edits.
Before the cops get here.
And make all the cuts.
Yeah. And of course, there's been murders. You just got chased in the bathroom at your high school, and they let school out early because of the murders. And what would you do after that, Gavin? If there's a killer on the loose,
and there's a curfew, party at Stu Monker's house, everybody.
Where there's no parents. Her dad's out the first 20 minutes of the movie. And it seems like nobody else has parents in this town.
Is this Neverland? They're all lost boys. There's no parents. There's no adults ever.
It's Haddonfield or any like. It's like if you had parents, this would just be fixed.
If any of your parents stopped going on business trips, you would be fine.
Well, even in Elm Street, like the mom's a drunk.
Yeah, but you know what? She's still present. I'm sure she goes to like all the school PTA meetings.
Just drunk at it. Yeah, she's physically there, mentally. Woo.
It's like, what are we doing about these kids' lunches?
Ma'am, this is a softball game.
I say stop cutting pizzas into squares with the scissors. It's not nutritious. Ma'am, please leave the softball game. We're trying. You're on the pitcher's mound.
Ma'am, please. And forever, I also wanted to point out, I just called Ghostface Scream forever.
Why is that so funny? Be like,
I don't
yeah.
know. I was like, that's Scream. And then producer wife was like, that's Ghostface, right? I'm like, well, yeah, I know that, but I just called him Scream. Like to me, it's like calling if I called Michael Clark Duncan Green Mile, that's Green Mile right there. That's who that is.
Tom Hanks, that's Castaway.
Yeah.
That's Volleyball Friend.
You remember when Castaway was in that Da Vinci Code movie?
I love that you just call him Scream.
Yeah.
I like that you saw a different movie and the killer was just the painting called The Scream.
The Scream, yeah.
It's the Scream. That painting came to life and killed some people.
Yeah, which is a ripoff from Home Alone when he puts the cologne on and he screams.
Oh, how deep does this conspiracy go?
Let's ask Jamie Kennedy.
Yes. Jamie, do you follow Jamie Kennedy on social media?
Some of them, yes. I don't remember all the accounts, but yeah.
Yeah, he is. I met Jamie Kennedy at Horror Hound 2019. He was nice, kind of odd, but he wasn't rude or anything. He was I've heard some people have had very negative experiences with him. He was perfectly fine to me, but he is, if you think he's lovable Randy in real life, he's not.
Yeah. Well, and I was at the same con you were, and I don't tend to get things signed, but just watching people get things signed, who was working the room and was like, I became a fan watching this guy talk to people, was Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard, met him. He gives the best hugs, and he didn't care if you were, I'm sure he asked permission, but he's like, hey, come on in. He hugged me twice. He hugged Stephanie. He was the warmest, the nicest celebrity I have ever met in my entire life. This is a guy who loves his fans. He stood there and his line was so long because he took 3-4 minutes just talking to you, signing your stuff and just asking about your day and if you're having fun. The nicest human in existence. So yeah, you watched him he was so nice, and it never felt like you were paying too much for an autograph because you were getting an experience with him.
Yeah.
He wasn't just signing and going. There are some people who just sign and go, and you get like Bruce Campbell is the most disappointing celebrity I have ever met in my, and he was on my bucket list to meet, and it was the most just impersonal sign and go experience of my life, and it was very sad, and I was very disappointed by it.
Well, let's stop talking about Scream. Let's talk shit about Bruce Camp now.
All right, let's get real. Turn these mics off. Are they off?
This is a shoot interview, brother. Yeah, like what? So, how do you feel about this big house? First off, at the end, like what did his parents do?
I have a bad habit of doing that with any movie, not just Scream. Or I grew up lower middle class, so we survived, but it was never like wealth. It was all very a modest upbringing. Whenever I see anybody in a movie with money, I go, God damn, what the family do?
Yeah. I imagine, you had the kind of upbringing that you saw Jason Shack and Friday Part 2. And we're like, what's this guy do for a job?
How do you is that mortgaged?
How can he afford sheets of metal to put on the side of that shack?
That's welded. That is welded. Does he got an arc welder in there?
Yeah, but it's like watching this movie a bunch of times. I'm like, this is like a half mansion going on. You got a boat, you got just lots of land. It seems like. And where are his parents? Like,
yeah, they're just always gone. Every parent is gone, and the house is empty. So they party, and it's a big house and very luxurious. But I feel like their viewing room for TV isn't as impressive as it should be.
No, and but it seems like a very like I've seen bigger parties and been to bigger parties than what's going on here. It's like pretty low key. Which that's the kind of party I would prefer.
Yeah, where it's just a bunch of friends hanging out, watching movies, maybe having a few beverages.
Yeah, you can go up to my parents' room and
knock boots,
just get a beeger. It always seems so weird to me when like Matthew Lillard's like, you go to my parents' room. And like in my head, I'm like, sure, it's a chance to get laid, but I'm also like, I don't want to lay on anybody else's bed.
There was a girl I know.
That seems gross to me.
There was a girl I know who had a Halloween party, and I didn't go to it because why? But it was like one of those parties where it's like gonna be way too many people. Everybody's gonna be drinking. I don't drink, so I just get uncomfortable around people who drink a lot because they always ask me like why I don't drink, and I have to like rationalize why I don't do this thing.
Just say you're an alcoholic.
Just say I'm in recovery.
Stop asking.
I'm recovering.
And I don't know if that's insensitive to like true on the wagon alcoholics, but when you're dealing with drunk rationale of why do you how come you don't do that? It's just easier to say I'm on the wagon and they'll just leave you alone.
But in one of her Facebook posts, she's like, hey, if you're coming to this party, listen, if you want to have sex, that's fine. We have a bedroom downstairs. We have a bedroom over here. Just yeah, just like what just advertising all the places to bang in their home. It's like I don't want to. First off, I mean, I had roommates, so I've had intercourse with other people in a house, but I don't want to be like at a party where we're like they're fucking in there, let's bang on the door,
just knocking. Hey, you signed the room out for a half-hour slot. You're over your time.
I would like to read in here now, please.
I will sign up for the room, but I will do no banging. I just want
it's like I hire a sex worker just to talk.
Just big house. And Gail shows up. Like, how much older is Gail compared to all these kids?
Yeah, because she thinks she fits in, and that is not a thing. Nobody's ever going to think like, whoa, I mean, we have a local weatherman here in Evansville who's dope as hell. I love him. And if he showed up to a party, they'd be like, holy shit, he's here. What's going on? Yeah.
Now this party can get started now that 2020's here. Or Dateline.
Like, oh shit, Diane Sawyer's doing a keg stand.
Tom Brokaw. What's up, bro?
Chuck Barbara Walters. Get it. Go.
Like it's and like maybe drunk teens definitely don't care, but I'm like, this lady is here for a story. There's no other way that she's here other than to dig up some dirt.
And she just walks in her red power suit, just like, hey, what's going on, everybody? To set up a camera. This is 1996. The Wi-Fi feed, it bothers me. I'm like, this is 1996, but the wireless was not that good to be streaming. She's like, it's on a delay. It's like, it would be fuzzy and on a delay. It would not be good.
Well, in the peek behind the curtain last night, you and I tried to record this very episode.
Yes.
And we couldn't because the Wi-Fi sucks so bad.
Yeah, because we had a storm and our Wi-Fi hadn't fully recovered yet. And it's like, this is 2022. Yeah. And we have fast internet. We're inside. We are hardwired. And then they're like, we're going to use this magic spooky technology to stream on Twitch to my van.
I did have in this, they're like, there's a couple flaws in this movie, but I still think it's great. But a section of my notes, I just wrote questionable technology. Like, first we have the texting the cops from a computer. I don't know back then if that was a thing. Probably now you could do that. But back then, when like the screen is black and the text is green, like I don't think that happened at all.
It's like you got to pull up the command prompt, get into DOS, put in 4 floppy disks, and then say call 911, and then it'll say file not recognized. And you're like, okay, well, yeah, because it's not real. You can't do this.
We had the camera from this, I don't know how many yards, 50 yards from the house to the van.
Well, that's
on a delay, clear. You could see what people are saying,
It was 50 yards because the house had a restraining order against the van. It could have been closer. It could have been closer, but not court.
He didn't want to move his fat tub of lard ass closer. We've got cloning a cell phone, which is a thing later in the series.
I don't know how that works. I don't know what that means. You clone a cell. I know you make like a copy of the cell phone. I just don't know how that works to this day.
And let me rephrase it. I misspoke, Gavin. They cloned a cellular telephone. I want to get it correct because everybody in this movie can't not just say phone. cell phone, cell. They got to say cellular telephone.
Oh God.
And this is a product of 1996 or whatever it was, but it's just those types of things when you go back and you're like, oh, what are you doing with a cellular telephone?
This is to cellular telephones as Elm Street was to child murderer.
Yeah,
just reminding you.
And then the other thing that's throughout the series too is this voice changer.
Yeah, I've never heard a voice changer that's that good where you can't hear your voice on the other end.
Yeah, it'd be like a yak back. You remember that? Or like the tape thing from was it Home Alone 2?
the talk boy?
Yeah, whatever.
I'd like one hotel room, please, with a mini bar.
What scary movies? All that. If you can, I can overlook all that because it is what it is, and it's like the voice changer. That's kind of a big plot thing throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. But I just need you to facilitate the kills and stuff, so that doesn't really bother me. But I'm just like, that's some questionable technology in this film. Yeah,
and it ultimately they're very minor things that us in 2022 are like. It's silly, but back then we're like, this technology is going to change our lives. I'm going to go home and call the police from my computer right now just to see if I can do it.
You up? Woodsboro PD.
What going on? What you wearing? Oh, badge and gun. Well, put that on my desk and get out them trousers.
And we have so Dewey gets stabbed.
Yeah.
In the back, right? Like he stumbles out. Yeah.
Do you like Dewey as a character?
I like him later in the series. He's really doofy. Like he's easily made fun of in this first one, at least. Even Tatum's like, he's like, when I'm wearing this badge, you got to respect me. That's what Mom says. Like she totally negates all his authority whenever she's around.
I like that he is a deputy for the sheriff's department and he's still living at home.
Yeah. And he's now 25 because he was 24 for a whole year.
No, I was not living at home at 25. Thankfully, I was out at that point.
I think I had moved back home at 25. So
as is the millennial rite of passage.
That's right.
You have to go back for a little bit.
I do like him later in the series, and I really appreciate. I think it was started with Scream 2, where he got his own soundtrack, that kind of Wild West type soundtrack, showdown type thing. Yes. But I definitely like him as a character.
Yeah, him getting stabbed, and you think he gets killed. You think
a lot in this series, just in general.
Yeah, you do think he does die a whole lot in this series because he's just always. It becomes a running joke because in Scream 2 they're like, yeah, he stabbed him in the scar tissue from the first movie.
Yeah,
so it's like, oh, it wasn't fully healed. He's okay because of that. I like Deputy Dewey as a character. I think David Arquette is amazing. He's very nice when we met him. He's a very warm human as well. Really fun wrestler.
Yeah.
Former WCW World Heavyweight Champion, baby.
My champ.
A lot of wrestling fans hate it, but your belt is fake and nothing matters. Why not put it on David Arquette?
It's just fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I love wrestling, but I also love David Arquette being champion and that being a real thing that happened during my lifetime.
How do we feel about Skeet or Matthew Lillard?
Oh, Skeet is just the skeeziest boy, but he is also just very like, I could see a lot of people just like, ooh, because he's just got something about him that's like dirty hot.
It's that half Johnny Depp syndrome type thing.
Yes, he's very much got that. And if you think it's bad in Scream, he plays on Riverdale today, and he's a character on Riverdale. I don't know if he left, but in the seasons I watched, he is just full daddy mode. And like, oh my, that man aged like wine. I'm a straight man, but even I'm like, damn, okay. The Southside Serpents. Okay, I see what you're doing. I see what we're doing. But I have our poster signed by him. I didn't get to meet him. One of our friends got a sign for us, and she said that he was very nice as well.
Nice. It's always nice to hear when people are nice.
The only person I didn't get to sign the poster is Rose McGowan because she was charging more than Nev Campbell.
That seems, but like, know your worth, but also know your worth compared to, I don't know, Nev Campbell. Like,
yeah, like David Arquette was $50. Nev Campbell was $60. I think Matthew Lillard was $50 for like a combo photo, and Jimmy Kennedy was $30, which is fine. But Rose McGowan was $80.
That seems like a lot. Was she wearing that shirt?
She was not. She was.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
She wasn't even dressed sexy enough to go and bother talking to her.
Her nips weren't even hard.
I don't. For $80, I better cut some glass and take it home.
You know, some guy said that though. I'm not waiting in this line.
If she can't cut my towel from a bathroom, what are we fucking doing here?
And then we got Matthew Lillard. Like, I think he's my favorite character in this movie.
Absolutely.
And it all has to do with the end.
Yeah. My parents are gonna be so mad at me.
That's just the thing I say around the house. My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me. Yeah, you killed people, dude.
Yeah.
Like, best case scenario is nobody has died and you threw a party at their house. They'd probably be mad at that. Not to mention the blood everywhere. You killed the principal, dude. Like,
I think a lot about the line, feeling pretty woozy here.
Yeah. That's the other flaw in this movie, is that they decide to stab each other before they killed Nev Campbell and her dad.
I never thought be like, she's been formidable at 100%.
Yeah.
Let's lower our power levels, like Goku fighting Frieza, just to make it fair.
Let me start bleeding everywhere.
Okay, stay. Don't go too deep. Stay to the side. And just like, just like you hit him in the stomach. You went right up the middle.
Look at Skeet Ulrich. He's clearly a psychopath.
Yes, but Nev Campbell can get killed because they did get it on.
And that's how they unlocked it.
Yeah, that's how they unlocked the achievement. They're like, okay, I can do it.
Murder.
I did like the fake out of him pretending to be killed, because he's pretty sus throughout the whole movie. And then when you're like, oh, he's getting killed, then he walks downstairs. He's like, corn syrup. Just like they did in just like they did in Carrie. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is good. And then him and Stu being together on it, and the rationalization of because her mom was having an affair with her dad and it caused his parents to break up. And it all ties together. It's all very sound logic. They have good motive. And then Stu, why'd you do it? Peer pressure?
Yeah. Like, it definitely feels like peer pressure. Like, this guy could be talked into this even a year before, where they killed her mom. Yeah, like, they were killing for a year.
Yes, and we only know about the mom. And then, do you think they killed other people in between that time?
Probably for practice and stuff, but like, and even like Skeet says, he's like, the best motive is no motive. Yeah, sometimes they're probably just practice killings.
I like that his name is Billy, but we've been calling him by Skeet the whole time because it's so much more fun. It's so much better. Skeet.
Do you think is that short for Skeeter?
I don't know. Let me look that up, because I've always wondered if that is a stage name or what it is.
I don't know why. Brian Ray Trout.
Is that his real name?
That's what it says. Why did Skeet Ulrich change his name? He changed his name from Brian to Skeet Ulrich to reflect the nickname he was given on his Little League baseball team. Skeet is short for mosquito, and Ulrich won this nickname from his coach because he was small, skinny, and fast.
Oh,
okay.
You gotta feel like his parents kind of hate that. They're like, we gave you this name and you're like gonna change it to Skeet, and because of Little League? Okay. And
I'm looking at photos of adult Skeet, and man, I'm creaming your jeans over here, Gavin.
He's like full on zaddy. Like he is an incredibly looking man.
You could stab me any day, Skeet.
I know, just whatever. We'll go straight to director's cut exorcist.
Now, there's a scene in the kitchen when they're like in Sydney's face and Matthew Lillard gets uncomfortably close to Skeet, like comes up behind him.
Yes.
And I think there's a fan theory that they were gay. I don't even know, but I'm like, whether it's intense and like they're trying to kill Nev or whatever, but it's like, I'm watching, I'm like, man, I only get that close to my wife, you know?
Well, as you know, for me, I believe that all horror movie killers should all be straight heterosexual white men. As
does Kevin Williamson, a gay man.
What? A gay man wrote this? He also wrote Dawson's Creek. What?
No, thank you. In the podcast now. No,
can't be talking about too much gay and people loving who they love. How dare we? I can see that. I'm sure there's Tumblr fan fiction about like the night skeeted or whatever.
And the thing that it's maybe like Matthew Lillard was gay and Skeet was just like, I'm gay too, but first help me kill these people.
And then I'll bottom for you.
Yeah. Now we get the kill of Stu getting the TV on his head, the big tube TV.
Yes.
Which I back in the day, I think you could get killed by a TV to the head.
So.
Right?
He also gets electrocuted.
That's
one
true.
Of the most popular fan theories, though, is some people think that he is still alive because they don't think that would kill him. And this comes from an unused idea or draft of Scream 3, where instead of it being the kind of dumpster fire that it was with like the director, it was going to be Stu who had survived. It was going to be revealed to be a mastermind. I don't think he's alive. I think he's dead. They've had so many opportunities especially in the past 2 with 4 and 5. If they were going to bring him back, knowing how much the fans love Matthew Lillard, they would have done it by now. And I don't think it makes any sense now. We're getting Scream 6 very soon next year. Like we're getting it next year. I just don't think there's any reason to bring him back now. I think it'd be kind of dumb.
Well, that's everybody's go-to twist is it's Stu. You know, like, and I would probably love it because I love the character. I like Matthew Lillard. And he said the idea was to have me with a burned up face orchestrating mayhem from prison, people attacking high schools. But apparently that was around the time of Columbine. So thankfully something like Columbine hasn't happened again, you know.
It was a real one-off thing.
Yeah.
And our gun laws got a lot stricter. And we all really took a long, hard reflection at the Second Amendment and said, wow, I don't think our founding fathers meant AR-15s.
And we politics out of my podcast, Gavin.
And we have been New Zealand ever since.
That's true.
But I think I just don't. I would like him to be back. I didn't love how they brought spoilers. I feel like if you're hearing this podcast, you've probably seen Scream 5 now, the one that came out earlier this year in 2022. Spoiler if you haven't. I didn't love that they brought Billy back. I thought it was dumb. I did that. That was my least favorite part of the new movie. Bringing these legacy characters back and making Billy, especially after watching this first one, watching Scream 5 and then like trying to retroactively make Billy Loomis like this anti-hero. It's like, no, he killed his friends.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah,
but you put a little time and space between it. Those kids, they know he's a killer, but we watched him kill.
Yeah, I just don't. I didn't like the ghost Billy in the new one where it's like, be who you were born to be, and it was like, oh, it's cool. She's got serial killer in her blood, like fantastic.
Take your weapon, strike me down,
and make me more powerful than I ever could imagine.
Take the voice changer, change your voice. Yeah, I don't know where else to go after, we've kind of covered most of it, right?
Yeah. Well, we didn't cover the best part, which is the very, very end where they kill Stu. They kill Stu with the TV, allegedly.
Mhm.
And then they kill Billy they like stab him with an umbrella. They stab him a bunch. He gets shot, but then he comes back for one last scare. And they have a very definitive ending for a killer in this. They shoot them in the head.
Yeah.
Which is very definitive, which is so many horror movies are saying, just shoot him in the head. Just shoot him in the head.
Mhm.
And nobody ever shoots him in the head, but they did it this time, and it kills him.
Mhm.
And
pretty like there's no getting around a shot to the head.
Yeah, and Nev Campbell saying "not in my movie," like it's such a good line. I have when she signed our Scream poster, I had her write that line on it. So I love that line. Not in my movie.
Not in my movie. And what? 4 survivors at the end?
Yeah,
well,
we have
5. We got Gail.
Gail, Dewey, Randy,
and Nev.
Yeah, Sydney.
That's 4, right?
Yeah, that's 4.
That's still usually a movie is just a straight bloodbath, and it's like, oh, it's the lone survivor, you know?
Yeah, but I think Kevin Williamson, I don't know if he said this in interviews or not, but they clearly had sequel potential. Because
he's like, I have it right here of like he's easier to sell the scripts if he had 5-page outlines for potential sequels. Scary Movie 2, Scary Movie 3. He hoped to entice buyers with the potential for a franchise. So he's like, here's 3 movies that you could build a whole franchise on,
and they're going to be real cheap to make.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's
quick
awesome.
because they had a less than a year turnaround for 2, you know?
Well, if you think about it, horror is one of the cheapest genres to produce. You don't need a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody really made a good point to me, because at the time on AMC, Walking Dead and Mad Men were airing at the same time. And Mad Men is way more expensive than The Walking Dead, because you have to make it set in the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make sure all the cars are right. Walking Dead is prosthetics and fake blood.
Let's go into the woods in Georgia.
Yeah, and just shoot Walking Dead. And that's it. But so horror is one of the most profitable genres because scaring people is cheap and effective.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you feel about the look of Ghostface? Because in the script, Williamson, he just wrote masked killer.
I think that and this is one of the things where I think I saw the Ghostface mask in stores before
Mm-hmm.
Scream had ever come out. It vaguely remember because it was a real regular Funland costume.
Yeah, they said it was like at every 5 and dime in the movie, you know. So
yeah,
every
and
dime store, you know.
Yeah, and you could buy that in the store. Mm-hmm. and so to use something that was pretty anonymous and non-conspicuous, and then just adapt it to be one of the most horror villains ever made. Because a lot of we buy a lot of the action figures and stuff, and I have Ghostface is a killer in Dead by Daylight, the video game, and that they have to credit Funland as as one of the trademarks on there, so they don't actually own Fun World. They don't actually own the rights to that mask.
Do you know the story behind the guy who inspired Scream?
I don't. What is the story that inspired it?
It was the Gainesville Ripper, which, as far as serial killer names go, I love a Ripper.
Yeah, you got to have a good Ripper. Jack the Ripper, the Ripper.
Like the whatever River Killer, BTK. That's a good Biden Torture Kill.
Yeah, you gotta have a good moniker to really make a splash in the serial killing game.
So this guy named Danny Rolling headed to Gainesville, Florida, and went on a grisly crime spree over 4 days in August 1990. He would stalk, stab, and kill 5 college students, 4 females, and 1 male. His pattern was the same: breaking into apartments while residents were asleep, stabbing them in their beds. He raped the women before killing them. His male victim, a roommate of one of the girls, was killed in his bed after being awoken by the attack. He mutilated his female victims after raping and killing them, leaving severed heads and corpses staged in lewd sexual positions. So this is a little Michael Myers type
That's a
thing
lot.
is,
That is a lot. And that's the Gainesville Ripper, you said?
yeah.
That is, I don't think I've ever heard of him before. So that is like, whenever, like, killing people is one thing, but when you're like staging them and puppeting them, that's like a whole other level of like
It's a
psychopath.
menacing. Yeah.
And to have
And
the time to do it and like not fear about getting caught, just being able to take your time, like that
Yeah.
is a whole, like, to not, if I ever, I have no murder tendencies, but if I were to kill somebody, I would immediately be like, I'm afraid of being caught. I need to get out of here right now. I'm not gonna like hang around and see what I can make.
Yeah, let me set these guys up and pose them.
Yeah, not for me.
So Kevin Williams is watching that, and as he was watching, he looked around his own home, realizing that easily someone could come in and surprise him. So this is, in his head, that's like a home invasion. To me, that's one of the scarier types of movie, is a home invasion, because if you can't be at home, then where can you be at home?
That is one of my recurring nightmares. A lot of my recurring nightmares are all home invasion based.
Oh, that's scary.
I sleep with a baseball bat under my bed. Stephanie thinks it's dumb, but I go, I want something here if anything ever happens. I'd like
She thinks it's dumb, says the woman who leaves the door unlocked all the time.
She's like, well, I leave the door open. I leave guns and knives in the doorway. So if they're coming in, they feel welcome.
Come on in, friend.
Do you want a machete? Just be real. Just take your shoes off when you come in.
Please. Any other thoughts on Scream?
Perfect. It's a great, perfect movie.
I think it's one of my favorites.
It's one of my favorites, and that's why we waited till the end of this podcast to not the end of the podcast forever.
This is the last episode, by the way.
By the way, last episode of our inaugural season, but we may have something a little fun planned for next one. And Scream is perfect. I love it. It's one, like I said, I'll put on as background noise. I look forward to watching it every Halloween season or whenever the mood strikes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love the sequels as much. This first one is just so much fun and the perfect slasher movie for me.
We didn't really talk much about Nev Catlin. You kind of talked about a little bit with Sid, but like I think, and this could be a conversation for another podcast too, but I think she's the quintessential and best final girl.
100%. She is smart. She is cunning. Because Ghostface isn't this unstoppable killing monster like a Michael Myers or a Jason Voorhees. She is witty. She has smarts. The thing with the door where she jams the door so Ghostface can't come in. That's so smart. She dresses up like him to try to she is never dumb. She doesn't she does run upstairs, which whatever, but she's never the quintessential dumb horror girl.
Yeah.
And if she shows those traits, they remarked on it in the movie. And she becomes just such a strong character throughout the entire franchise, where she grows and like builds on her experiences.
Mm-hmm. And I was just had the conversation with producer wife before we turned the mics on, and I said jokingly, because I've been watching a lot of like old movies recently, and like I was like, I missed the time when women would just faint. Like,
oh my Lord.
Oh, like, and that's how the monster got you. And then you wake up in the lair, but like you come such a long way from, oh my word, and fainting on a couch to somebody that kind of takes charge,
My favorite, I love The Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's my favorite Universal monster. That movie is just a woman fainting and being kidnapped by a sea creature several times.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. Ah! Just like waking up in his lair and then leaving and be like, just like fainting and just all over the place.
And this is a question I didn't ask you before, but they at this party, they just throw on a horror movie for everybody to watch. If you're throwing a party, Gavin, and you're going to put on a horror movie, what movie do you put on?
Whew.
Because that's different if you're just watching a horror movie by yourself. You want everybody to feel entertained, and like you're not going to put on I don't know, something that just drags the whole time,
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't put The Exorcist on. You know,
you don't watch Poltergeist in the background. Just probably the Blair Witch Project. There's a lot of people screaming in the woods. No,
Yeah.
I would Army of Darkness. I think that's the best background party horror movie because if people have seen it, they know it. They love it. It's funny. You can kind of wander in and out. One time we watched a movie on a Halloween. We watched the Evil Dead remake, which was a fun one to watch as like at a party setting. But yeah, probably Army of Darkness with my good friend Bruce Campbell.
I was gonna say Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, so
it's kind of a fun just movie to put on, and if you don't get it or are not aware of the series, you can still like enjoy what's going on, you know.
Absolutely. I think if you want to terrify your friends, put on the first Evil Dead and be like, what is this movie?
Yeah, just a lady peeking out of the floorboards and shit.
Oh god, just the grossest special effects.
I would also put on Return of the Living Dead.
That's a fun one too. It's got so many breasts in it.
That's exactly why I would
be like, hey, if you see this woman, her name is Trash, and she's gonna be naked most of this movie.
Fully naked too. No,
just for no reason in a cemetery.
That could be a conversation for another podcast too. Like party, our party horror movies.
Absolutely, I love that. Scream though, fantastic, love it. Think you love it. I think you love it just as much as I do.
Yeah. Do we have any oh shit moments and other movies we'd recommend?
Oh shit moment, killing Drew Barrymore in the opening scene. Absolutely.
That's definitely yeah. Killing
Perfect.
her, but then also if it wasn't her, Drew Barrymore, you know, just that visual of being hung from the tree.
I agree, but man, it being Drew Barrymore just adds to it.
Yeah, that's for me the oh shit and the kill of the movie.
Absolutely, yeah. Really blows its wad in the first 13 minutes. Go, now we got more movie. Honey, hold on, I'm gonna need a few minutes.
Yeah, give me a whole second act to get ready for the third act. Other movies, if people like Scream, what should they check out?
Okay, if you like Scream, Halloween H2O, Scream with Halloween, the Faculty. I also really like Urban Legend, which is one of the most blatant Scream ripoffs ever, but it does some fun stuff. Have you seen Urban Legend?
Yeah, I have a custom figure right behind me.
Oh, of the Rebecca Gayheart in the hoodie?
Yeah, right here. This guy makes them on eBay. It's I can't remember who makes it. It's custom horror dolls by Will Turner. All these dolls are Barbies, and he puts the costume on.
Oh, nice! That's awesome. Nobody can see through this because we are an audio medium.
I know, but if you go to eBay, that's where he sells them.
Yeah, no, that's
and they're really and you buy horror stuff, and sometimes the custom ones are like, I don't have $1,500. You know.
I'm not Twitter's Brent Terhune. I cannot just. There's a guy who does. I don't want to get too off track, but there's a guy who makes clay figurines at every horror convention I go to.
Yeah, I have some behind me. Yeah,
his stuff is nice. It's like $80.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, it's handcrafted. It took a lot of time, but oh my god, but it's worth it. Good guy, and yeah, Urban Legend's one I'd highly recommend if you like Scream.
Yeah, I would say the rest of the Scream franchise. First off. If you like the first one, and we probably in agreement. I didn't ask you, but three is the worst one, right?
Yes, 3 is absolutely the worst one,
and it's not terrible, but it's not the best. You know.
Real quick, what are your rankings?
Scream 1, 2. I'd have to watch 5 again, but Scream 1, 2, 4, 5, and 3.
Mine is 1, 4, 5, 2, 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the new ones a lot.
Yeah. I would also say Friday 13th Part 1. That's as I think I mentioned on that episode, a whodunit.
Who's the killer in Friday the 13th Part 1?
Jason. It was Jason. I've seen that movie 30 times.
Wrong answer. Jason wasn't the killer until the sequels. His mother was.
Halloween H2O. I had The Faculty. And that's another Flying V movie cover. And then also I said The Thing. Also, if you're looking for who is the guy that's doing all this type thing.
Also the Mighty Ducks. If you love a good Flying V, just
true.
The Mighty Ducks, Coach Bombay,
Emilio. I think that's it. That's the Scream.
That is Scream. Great movie, changed horror forever, for the better, for the worse.
And that's the end of our first season here on They're Coming to Get You.
I know, and I am excited for season 2 that we're gonna do.
We were planning like season 2 on episode 2 of this
season. You sent me a text message. You're like, so for season 2, I was like, he'll send me one. You sent me 15 movies.
Well, and also I'm not trying to be the guy that's like, here's what we're doing. I'm like, here's what we could do, No,
and you got some good suggestions, and I think we're gonna do some fun ones, and we're gonna. I don't want to go too much into me, but we're gonna maybe branch into some TV episodes as well.
Oh, I can't wait.
What? So if you like TV and you're like, I like these moving pictures, but I like them when they're in 20 to 30-minute intervals.
Yes, sir.
Well, we got some stuff coming for you.
And those things, Gavin, they're coming to get you.
Barbara!
They're coming to get you. They're coming for you, Barbara.
They're coming to get you.